Hello BookTube, welcome back to my channel. I very excitedly was tagged in the New York Times by the book tag. I was tagged by Jack at Rambling Raconteur. This is actually an old tag that has had a resurgence, and that resurgence is from Vrania Books. So yeah, I'm very excited that this has been has had a resurgence because it's very good questions. And thank you, Jack, for the tag. So here goes. Number one, what book is in your nightstand right now, or on your nightstand right now? And like Jack said, very laughable that it's just one book. So I have Matt Helm's, a Matt Helm novel. This one's Murderer's Row. It's Donald Hamilton. This book was originally published in 1963, I believe. 1962. Originally published in 1962. This is a 2013 edition. By Titan Books. They republished the entire Matt Helm series. Fantastic series. This one is pretty brutal in that his assignment. If you don't know, he's basically a shadow spy agency in America, Cold War America, and essentially his job is like hitman, and so his agency doesn't officially exist. He often has to take a cover that involves him not being able to divulge to anyone that he's a government agent, and his agency's activities are often frowned upon by all of the other spy and police agencies in America. So it's very covert operations, but he's essentially out to kill somebody. He's given a name and he's out to kill someone. This one's brutal though, because his assignment was to actually it's a heavily beat, like really seriously beat up female agent so that she could infiltrate this Russian spy ring that was able to create a network. Let's create a passage out of America, kidnapping or getting out double agents out of Chesapeake Bay. And so her job was to infiltrate by appearing to be a double agent or someone sympathetic to getting out of America. And it would be a coup for the Russians. They never had anyone from this shadow organization before. And then her job after that was to basically just iPad fell. Was just to basically get in contact with a defector. So they don't know if they defected or kidnapped, but it's basically a scientist that invented a aircraft to submarine detection, like radar sonar type thing, and to basically make sure the enemy can't get the secret. So either get them out or just kill them. And it kind of went wrong, and she died, and now Matt Helm has to take up the assignment. But yeah, it's quite brutal. I started reading that because it's like a book I just leave in the car, and we ran a few errands yesterday, and usually we have the dog with us, so one of us stays in the car and one of us goes grab some stuff. So I was in the car for a little bit, and I just started reading it, and yeah, I got far enough in, so I brought it into the house and continued to read it. The other book I have is just something I need to just finish off. I started it earlier in the year. It's The Cruel Sea by Nicholas Monserrat. It's set on the, I think it's the Atlantic warfare in World War II, and concerning the naval officers of a light ship battle cruiser, I think. And it's good kind of play between lifelong navals and then the new subscription to World War II. Like, so basically people who are sailors and then people who are just laymen who are like learning to be sailors. It's very good so far, and continue on with that. And another one, another spy novel, John le Carré, The Night Manager. Obviously, when I heard that he died the other day, I instantly reached for one of his books, and actually don't have that many. I just have The Night Manager and A Legacy of Spies, but I need to read the at least the Carla novels before I read Legacy of Spies, the other Carla novels. But this one was his first post-Cold War novel. So this is more concerning the international arms and drugs trade. I think specifically Colombian drug trade. So yeah, I haven't actually read this before, so I'm very interested to get this read. And I've only read a couple of the of John le Carré's like spy, Cold War spy novels, and so actually I've been meaning to read them all for a long time. So I think next year might actually be a chance to just get in and deep dive into them. I read Call of Murder quite recently. A Spy Who Came from the Cold is one of my favorite spy novels, and one of my favorite movies of all time, the adaptation with Richard Burton. So I think I want to reread that and then just go on from there and just try and read them all. I did once buy a copy of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, but I just never really got the time to get into it and read it properly. But I just watched the movie, and I really enjoyed the movie. More importantly, I watched the Alec Guinness TV series, which is a phenomenal piece of TV. Really good. I think it's particularly, I think it was made in the 70s. It's a particularly good 70s fashion TV. And I got one more, and I started this earlier in the year. Greg Eagle's The Bone Tree. A few hundred pages in. So yeah, I want to get this finished. I'll probably get all of these finished over the weekend of the Christmas weekend, hopefully. I did have lofty ambitions of reading some quite deep non-fiction. I don't have the brain power or just can't keep my eyelids open enough throughout the week. But I think it's just going to be reading lots of fiction. Pretty much lots of disposable fiction too, which is, I like that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think probably done that question now. Number 2, what was the last truly great book you read? So it's kind of hard because I would say the Matt Hallam books by Donald Hamilton are all truly great, but in a more consensus approach, literary and genre fiction. And I think I want to mention this book just because I feel like the author and the book are just not mentioned anymore. It's not part of the crime lexicon. It's not really when people mention some of the best crime books, I just feel like it's not really that mentioned. And that book is Vera Kaspari's Laura, which also got made into one of my favorite movies of all time. I just actually felt this is really, really well done book, that it does a few things you don't often get in crime novels, and when you do, they're not done very well. It's multiple perspective, retelling the same part of the story through different characters' lenses. Unreliable narrator, it's got in there too. You don't really necessarily know which narrator's unreliable till more the end, but there's definitely maybe not more unreliable as much as holding stuff back. Yeah, and then it's got a weird love story in there too. And yeah, even though I knew the story inside out because I watched the movie so many times, it's still such a great read. And so I would say that was a truly great read. And I think if you like crime, you should definitely read Laura by Wilkes-Barre. And then hopefully I will get on to some of her other books. I think Bedelia is another one. But yeah, I would say it was a really great book. Number 3, if you could meet anyone, writer, alive or dead, who would it be? What would you want to know? I don't think I really want to meet any writer, but the first person that came to mind, purely because I just found a book in a free little library yesterday, but Dylan Thomas. And I just found this Dylan Thomas in America book, which it's an intimate, an intimate journal by John Malcolm Brennan. So yeah, this looks like it could be really interesting. Probably focusing on his speaking tours and drinking tours around America in the 30s, 40, I think it was the 30s and 50s he went to America. I haven't really read anything about the book. I think it did really look really interesting, and I find Dylan Thomas very fascinating. And I wouldn't ask him anything. I wouldn't want to know anything. I'll literally just go out drinking in some bars with him and see what happened. I don't think you need to prompt him to get some good chat out of him. What books might we be surprised to find on your shelves? I have no idea. None of the books really surprised me on my shelves. I think I've held up quite a few books that don't really have any kind of link to them. So yeah, I'm not sure. I struggle to know what kind of impression other people have of me. So I will be doing a bookshelf tour soon, though, I hope. So you can tell me what book is a surprise that I have. How do you organize, number 5, how do you organize your personal library? I essentially have a shelf for Canadian books, non-fiction, fiction, whatever, anything that's Canadian related. I have a bookshelf that's starting to turn into a bookshelf and a half. A bookcase. So I have a bookcase for Canadian, a bookcase for non-fiction, which is kind of overspilling into a bookcase and a half. That's general non-fiction. I have a bookcase for crime spy novels, which will probably need to be 2 after next year. I've got a bit of space, so hopefully I can add some shelves. And then I think I have 2 or 3 bookcases of, 3 bookcases of just general non-fiction. And essentially I throw all the books up in where they should be in their bookshelves, and then any that I've read I put into the top left-hand corner of each bookcase. And basically when I'm scanning it, I'll know, like, I can just basically just go to the top left and just scan until I find a book I haven't read, if I'm in a hurry, which is quite handy actually. And it's quite a good way of I can just reach further down, reach any book, and I can just grab a book, and I know that I want to read it. And sometimes that's quite good, just to, if I don't know what I want to read, I just grab a book at random. So that could be quite handy. It's very good if you just need to grab a book quickly too, which I often have to do. What book have you always meant to read and haven't got around to? Every book in my bookcase is up in my little library, my personal library there. But the one that really jumps out, because I've basically had this since I was 14. This is not my copy. I do not have the copy I bought when I was 14. So basically that's what, 23 years? Yeah, 22, 23 years. Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. I keep hearing that it's one of the best World War II novels. It's quite everyone knows the Catch-22. It's part of the cultural. It's part of culture. And yeah, and I'm really interested in reading war novels, especially kind of pacifist war novels. I haven't read a ton, I think, because I keep meaning to read that one. I don't think I've seen the movie though. I heard the movie's so-so. Yeah, haven't, but yeah, I've had a copy of that in my possession for 22, 53 years, so I really should get around to reading it. Oh yeah, and anything you feel embarrassed to have never read? No, never feel embarrassed you haven't read a book. If anyone tries to shame you because you haven't read a book, they're not a very nice person, and you shouldn't be friends with them. Number 7, disappointing, overrated, or just not good. What book did you feel you were supposed to like but didn't? I don't know if I'm supposed to like. I don't know if this. I feel I'm supposed to like a lot of books. But so many people liked Sally Rooney's Normal People. So many people that I like and admire liked it, and I just couldn't get on board with it. I didn't think it was a particularly healthy relationship. But I'm thinking of more books that I should, like more books that maybe in the crime, spy. But I haven't really read that many that I haven't liked, so probably go with that. I feel like if I read more modern crime fiction, I would be more disappointed. But I haven't read a lot because I haven't read a lot of it mainly because I don't think I would get along too much well with it. I have so many books from the 30s to the 50s that I still haven't read. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. Do you remember the last book you put down without finishing? Yes, I do, but not because it was disappointing or overrated or not good or anything like that. Just literally because of what the book is. It essentially was hung by its own petard. Essentially, it's the Penguin History of Canada. And essentially, I put it down because it was just like a couple chapters on the subject was just not what I wanted. I think it's good to dip in and out before reading a more specific book about that time period, but just to get a very general overview. But just reading it cover to cover was kind of not working for me because I just wanted to know more about each subject before moving on to the next one. So I think I will keep diving back into it, but I think just the way my brain works is better if I just go for books about very specific time frames, very specific historical events in Canada's history, or in any history. I think, as I also have the Oxford book of English history or British history. I'd say English history. I looked a little bit. The chapters, it's mainly English history. And I think similar to that, I think I probably won't be. I'll just dip in and out of that probably, and then when I'm doing other reading. Number 8, what kind of stories are you drawn to? Any you steer clear of? I am obviously very drawn to crime and spy fiction stories. I particularly like reading about non-fiction. I particularly like reading like true spy stories. I don't like true crime. Don't like reading about true crime necessarily, unless it's more about wrongful incarceration. I read those more. I'm not really into anything that's like kind of getting kicks out of reading about murders and stuff. I can't get on board with that. There are some true crime books that are worthwhile because it's more giving the victim a voice than leaning too much on the murder or criminals. I also do like reading about robberies, bank heists kind of things, where it's more like theft of property, and there's no collateral damage. There's no like physical injury to people. Those ones sometimes appeal to me, but mainly the spy stuff. And I mainly like reading the scathing non-fiction journalistic looks into spy organizations, particularly American, but also Israeli, Russian. Just kind of getting a really, really thorough look into their actions in and outside of their own countries, and how they can often influence or downright just remove other political leaders and influence political outcomes in countries. I find that all very interesting. I do really need to read the J. Edgar Hoover book biography that came out a few years ago. That was it seemed to be quite authoritative book about him, and not in a hagiography way either. Number 9. If you could pick one book for the present to read, what would it be? This is quite a tough one, but probably for the current president and the next president and the president after this, and just continue until the problem's solved, is probably The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. There's actually a bunch of other books about prison reform and the prison system in America, but this is the newest and probably the best one to read for anybody that can learn about the prison system in America and how it can be reformed. I can't remember if this was the one that called for the complete abolition of the prison system, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I think prison should only be for the worst people in society, essentially people that cannot live in society. But a lot of the people in the American prison system are very, very minor crimes, or people who have turned to a life of crime for really just the main reason is just it's kind of the only way they can survive a lot of times. I think there's lots of things that can be done. I don't think locking people up en masse is helpful to society. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. Number 10, what do you plan to read next? Lots of things. Specifically, all of the books I mentioned on my nightstand, and can't remember what else there was. I have a book about South Sudan, which I really want to get to. I have so many books I really want to get to. Yeah, I will maybe leave a few books down below in the description. But yeah, there's so many books I want to get to. If you've seen in my book hauls, I want to get to all those, especially. But I'll just a quick tag before I lose my voice. I want to tag Sarah Ellison Books. It's a new channel just found, very good. I think she's in Michigan or something. And I'll also tag Heidi's Bookish Adventures. So yeah, I look forward to hearing your answers on these. And yeah, it's 25 minutes. I want to try to keep this a bit shorter, but that'll have to do. So yeah, good day. Happy Sunday.